Okay, welcome to DM Talks. Welcome. Okay, so this is my podcast, and it is aiming to promote well-being and assist healing, whether that be physically, mentally, or spiritually. Ultimately, we just want to be seen in our entirety, and this podcast hopes to show listeners how multifaceted they are. We are all at the centre of our own universe, so why don't we do more to better our own existence? So I started this podcast idea a couple of, I would say maybe like a year or so ago.
And talking about for the best part of the year.
Talking about for the best part of the year. However, it's finally come about. We've manifested it. We've created it. And today we've decided to talk about finding yourself. I've got a very special guest with me today. She's a baddie, a photographer, a poet, an academic, bad bee, cooking, stylist, everything in between. Welcome, Leah!
Yeah.
Hey!
How you doing, mate?
How are you doing today, Leah?
I'm really good, man. Excited to be here. Excited to be part of the podcast you're creating.
I know, I'm really excited that you're here too. So to give you guys some context, me and Leah met actually through Fallowfield by himself last year. I became her housemate.
Inseparable in 2 weeks.
And we're inseparable now. We're best friends. I always go around our house. Like, we're just doing bits. Leah, tell everybody about yourself a little bit.
What can I say? I don't know. I'm 21. I'm currently studying applied maths at Manchester, but I've lived here for like best part of 4 years now, and yeah, just about I don't know.
Oh, honey, we're just talking. We're just chatting. So I am so happy that you're here today. I think when we moved in together, we were at like different stages of our lives, and I think over the past maybe year or so, we've really just come into our own and been able to sort of learn more about ourselves, but in that like sort of safe space environment. So I thought it'd be best to have you in today to talk about finding yourself. So as this is my first episode and this is you're my first guest, I want to like break down through what the podcast segments are, talk a little bit about it, but it's all going to be good. I have faith. Yes.
Oi.
Lovely. So, introducing you to this segment, and it's called The Divine. And within The Divine, we want to talk about positive things that are happening in our life right now. So today, I decided to bring this book with me. It's called Open Your Mind, The Source by Dr. Tara Schwart. And she essentially talks about various forms of spirituality, but it's all backed up by cognitive neuroscience. I find it so interesting because it's sort of like providing practical ways of bettering yourself, whether that's through journaling or meditation or visualizations. There's just so many things that, that she's able to sort of help you
in a
access
way.
But in like a really comforting, really like safe space way, because I think books allow that, you know, like when you're reading a book, it's like an intimate sort of relationship that you develop with the book, and it's something that you can do in like the privacy of your own home. Do you know what I mean?
Especially on something such as spirituality.
Exactly.
I think when you're reading, I mean, for example, everyone has their own interpretation of the Bible or Quran when they read it, and it's the same with anything that talks about the idea of faith, like in yourself or in the things that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just like a really safe space for you to develop your ideas, like you were saying.
Oh, I love that. Like, amazing. So I've decided to read some few things from this book, and essentially Tara Schwart has talked about essentially unlocking different points, I guess, in your brain to help you help yourself. And the first thing she talks about in the book is neuroplasticity. Did I say that right?
Neuroplasticity, I think.
That's the one. Basically, for those who don't know, that's the brain's ability to flex and change. So essentially, it helps sort of by demonstrating / directing your thoughts that can influence not only the perception of your reality, but also the material circumstances, relationships, or situations that we attract in our daily lives. There's a section here where she talks about reclaiming your power, and I found it like really moving. So I thought I'll read it and then you tell me what you think about it. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Are you the architect, designer, and housekeeper of the source with the power to create, maintain, and destroy your neural connection? This process is neuroplasticity in action. It's the most positive and also the key to self-empowerment. It ensures that with effort, we can overcome deeply entrenched negative behaviors and modes of thinking, including addictive and destructive habits and relationship patterns. Okay, so what do you think about that?
I think, so I've read about neuroplasticity before. I did a bit of research on it in a philosophy essay I did a few years ago. And it's like a really recent thing, isn't it? It's like this decade. And what I found really special about it is just the idea that you tell yourself mentally that you can adapt to anything, overcome, but physically your body matches that as well. I think one of the most famous studies that was done on this topic was measuring the size of taxi drivers' brains in London.
That's in the book.
Is it?
Yeah, that's in
Amazing.
the book.
Yeah, it's a really big study. It was so impressive, I thought. And yeah, it was like it was probably explained in the book.
Give some details, sis.
London taxi drivers have to have a knowledge of the whole map of London, so all the side streets, and like every single road that you could possibly need to take for a destination. It's just part of the standard. And so the hippocampus, which is kind of the region in the brain associated with direction and kind of like, it's just about kind of just like navigational skills in the brain. For these parts of the brain for the taxi drivers, they expanded quite greatly over time. And what was interesting is that other parts of their brain kind of shrank just because it's not what they were using on a daily basis.
It's like because they were actively using this area, it just grew.
Yeah, definitely. And for retired taxi drivers or people who had been a taxi driver and not anymore, their brain eventually grew back and then other areas expanded again just to adapt to their way of life.
I find it so interesting how our brain adapts to our environment.
Yeah.
Like, don't you think that's mad? Especially because of the fact that we've got so many different, like, opportunities and resources to encourage that. So whether that's through, apps on your phone, or maybe that is through, like, can't think of another example.
Yeah, it's true though, because I think we'll talk about how people have regressed so much in such a short amount of time and that we haven't evolved too much. But I think the brain is an example of how our bodies are equipped to kind of adapt to new situations, and like the fact that we physically change with the world around us, like to adapt to the world around us. It's kind of like evolution on a really small time scale.
Definitely. You know what? You actually just made me think of something. So like, for anyone who knows me, knows that I don't run, right? However, Leah introduced me to this app. It's called Couch to 5K, and I've been using it for the past like maybe 5-6 weeks now. Like, I actually went on a run for day, which was amazing. And essentially, like, it's again sort of like having your thought, changing that pattern, and then seeing it grow in an action. Like, basically with this app, it like talks basically. Like, you're listening to your music, whatever, and it's basically a podcast over your music, and it allows you to be like, okay, Sarah, or someone, like, you're walking for 5 minutes, now you're running for 10, now you're going to have a little break now. And even that sort of assistance, like, makes me feel more like I can do things. In the podcast as well, she'll be talking about... what did she say? She's like, you can do this, and she'll talk about, like, various stories that she's had when, like, she'll wear something super bright to, like, change her environment. And, like, even that is, like, taking action and also increasing your neuroplasticity.
I think the thing I remember the most is when she was saying, if you have any doubtful thoughts about yourself running and wanting to stop, just tell yourself, I love running, and just don't stop saying it, and then eventually you will. And
now look at you love running.
Every day, to be fair, has changed. And I remember ages ago when I was in like primary school, this guy came in to do a talk, and he was talking about how running is one of the things that like will give you so much drive in life, because it's like not in our nature to want to run, really. It's work, and work we associate with having to hunt, get food, like, yeah, just wasting energy. When you overcome that on the daily basis, you're kind of always exposing yourself to doing new things and like overcoming your laziness, basically. And yeah, I never got it. And then I started running. I was like, no, I fully understand it now.
No, literally, like I came into work, like I had a run at 8:40 in the morning a couple of days ago, right? I was like, wow, look at me. Like, where's my medal, sis? Like, where is my medal? And like, I came into work afterwards and they're like, Sarah, why are you so hyper? And I was like, endorphins, honey. Like, I was just like, God, this is how people who exercise feel. God, I need to get to know.
For so long, I was on the other side on the bus home, like, coming from a night out and seeing the runners and thinking, oh, whoa, I wonder what it's like to be on this side.
That's the funniest thing when you're coming home from a night out. No, you're coming back home from a night out in the morning and then seeing about everyone on their day to day and you're just there like, I feel like a gremlin. Like, do you know what I mean? I literally feel like a troll. Like, why is this here?
Yeah, now I love being the runner on the other side, just thinking, you've had a mad one. Look
at that. Look at growth. Look at growth. Oh, amazing. I'm happy that you like to sort of find out your opinions and what you think of reclaiming your power is. Has there anything that happened to you recently where you've been like, yeah, I've reclaimed my power?
Yeah, actually. So like, I was initially thinking of doing a PhD straight after the masters that I'm doing now, and I'd finally found the kind of projects that I wanted to do, but it's quite difficult because I hadn't really had all my grades secured because I haven't finished it yet, and so like funding is not really something that was an option this year, and honestly I'm so happy that happened. It's such a blessing because now I think I've found love in just all the other things that I didn't think were as important. Just like the more creative hobbies that I used to do. I got back into them more over the year, but now I'm really starting to value their worth to me way more than I used to. And yeah, I think when something really big happens or something's taken away, it's just like the perfect time for you to reclaim something that you kind of lost along the way.
It's actually kind of mad that you said that because my next topic of conversation is the importance of having a hobby, right? Wow. So tell me some of your hobbies. Like, what do you like to do? Like, what feeds Leah's soul?
To be honest, that's a mad
Was that
question.
A bit deep?
No, it's not. It's relevant. It's what I was talking about, I guess. So at the moment, I've got an exhibition coming up next month, middle of next month. And so it's my friend who's putting it on, or our friend Lou.
Shout out Lou.
And it's the themes, nature, diversity, and memories. And I'm doing this project, making my own postcards, essentially, of places that have been really significant in my life at the time. Just found loads of old diary entries from when I've been away. And it's just been really nice just like reflecting over the things I've done. And so like in doing that, I've kind of gotten back in touch with some people that I met traveling and been getting the idea of like starting a fashion line, but inspired from like East African, like more specifically Tanzanian kind of fabrics, but in a more kind of streetwear kind of look. Yeah. It's pretty exciting. It's really exciting because it just means that I'll actually be able to have like a prolonged connection with all these really cool people that I met.
It's like because you've had all these experiences and now this is something that you've taken from this experience and like expanded of it. So like wherever you go now, even if you saw someone walking down the street in one of your outfits, it's like, I remember that time when I went to Tanzania and I made a bloody fashion brand. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it would be amazing, to be honest. I would just at the moment I see my mate Kennedy who's in Tanzania living there. Well, he's a local there, and he's just been taking pictures of all the tourists, like squad pictures and his designs. And he's saying, like, I'm really excited to just start work with you and taking it to the next level. It wouldn't have happened if I didn't start doing the drawings of like the places I've been to. So it's pretty
How
cool.
did you get into drawing? Like, was that something that you did when you were younger? Like, is it something that you do for peace? Like, what do you do?
I don't know. I was just always that girl on the colouring table. Do you know what I mean? Just doing
doodling away.
Yeah, I just loved it. And then as I got older, I just did a lot more academic things, and I just kind of didn't really see inspiration for it anymore. It's mad how only in the past year I've just really felt inspired and motivated to get back into it, and I've noticed that it gives me so much more of an appreciation for like how the other sides of like my interests kind of connect to each other.
Definitely.
So like, yeah, 'cause in maths I'm doing a lot of like modelling physical processes, and then I also get to draw them as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. I love how it's linked. It's actually quite interesting because essentially you just said how you sort of went more down the academic route, and then you sort of didn't find as much inspiration before. And my next sort of segment, which will happen like in every episode, is called Decoding the Messes. And essentially that's sort of like unpacking situations, experiences, just giving some more detail about things that may, well, not necessarily like disappoint us or like frustrate us, but more so like just explain why this has happened. So personally, I can talk about how I guess I sort of distance myself from creative outlets because I didn't find the importance of them anymore. Like I very like, well, you have your GCSEs, you have your A levels, and unless you're like, I don't know, getting good grades in those subjects, you just prioritize the other ones. Like, what was it like for you?
I think there's a lot of pressure to not. I think there's a lot of pressure to not pursue things you're not good at.
Yeah.
So,
but why is that? Because the thing is, we won't know until we try.
Yeah, and the thing is, I guess it's just because people assume that. Well, I guess we inherently assume that validation is like a big part of the hobby.
Yeah.
I guess when we're younger and things, you get more appraisal for the all the hobbies that we do, and I guess you grow out of it as you're older.
Yeah.
So,
well, but then again, it just shows you the importance of like the source, because if we validate ourselves, it will be everlasting. You know, we're just going to keep on learning more things about ourselves. Like I love how that has come about in my adulting life right now, how I'm literally just testing things out, trial and error. If it doesn't work, I tried it. If I didn't, hey, I found a new hobby. I found something new. Like I'm really, really, really well, to be fair, we got into it at the same time. So I'll tell you a little story. So me and Leah went to a workshop on essential oils, and it was amazing. It was so much fun. I learned so much stuff. Essentially, you've got, I don't know, let's say like peppermint oil that's like anti-inflammatory but also super stimulating. So if you like use that in certain products, it's going to have like different effects for different things. And since then, I'll make up my own concoctions like at my house. I make my own tea, like my own toner water. I'll make my own balms, like, and that was something that it was a new hobby for us, but it's something that we shared, you know?
Yeah, it was really cool. I think as well, it was just interesting, some of the facts that the women were pulling out, like the oregano oil, and how the woman who was holding the workshop, her son was ill, and she rubbed this oregano oil on his heels, and then she could smell it in his breath like within 2 days. And
it was a bit strange, but then also power of essential oils.
Yeah, like, it makes you think about like how much like how sensitive we are of the world around us. Like,
definitely, and that's like that's like the most natural thing that you can. Well, not obviously, but like, do you know what I mean? That's like to the core, natural, like literally completely like from the earth. That's sort of, it goes sort of, it's like we're going back on our roots to sort of help us, like as in humans, I guess.
Definitely.
That sounds really odd, but let's run with it.
Like, if you put something on your skin, it takes 20 seconds for it to get into your bloodstream. And it's just like mad to think that, you know, if we work somewhere that's quite dirty, or we live somewhere that's dirty, it's going to like affect our actual physical health on the daily basis. Like,
there's actually a film coming out about these, like, sorry, this is completely off topic, but there's actually a film coming out about there's like this basically dirty water like near this like this village, and that literally infected like so many people. Like it's quite similar to, what's that situation in America, the one really bad one, like the it's gonna go off the top of my head.
I haven't heard of it. I heard of I vaguely seen a documentary ages ago where this water filtration company were actually handing out, I think it was like lead or some toxic substance, and it was like dumping into the water system of this town with like maybe 20,000 people, something like that. And then they offered like no compensation, none of that, just because the company polluting just had amazing lawyers, and it was just like a poor town in the backwaters of America.
Yeah, I think that might be the same thing. Yeah, so it came out last year. It's called Dark Waters. Basically, it's a thriller. Oh God, it just shows you our life, isn't it? Like the environment. It's a thriller about a corporate lawyer who's working for a firm has been asked to link the number of unexplained deaths in this area, which has the largest corporation, and there's like loads of video. So that it's like chemical companies pollute without breaking the law. So yeah, it's a bit mad.
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting, to be honest. I just think that there are companies that will just have complete control over your health, and there's just nothing you can do about it. Like from bus companies to bottled water we buy or the sewage treatment. It's just like our overall health is so tangible to like how everything is run.
Definitely, everything's linked. Everything is connected. And it scares me how true that is. But then also you see sort of this thing happen right now where there's like this surge for independence, whether that's like, I don't know, buying from independent clothing brands, or maybe it is doing the essential oil like alternatives, like people using like essential oils. I think that she talked about this in the workshop, to like clean her house, or like to help her child when they were ill, you know? Yeah. So, like, it's weird because it's like, because there's a mass, I guess, need for all these things, everyone's gotten really lazy and complicit in, like, sort of the mass destruction of things. However, that upsurge is happening, which is a benefit, I guess, to it.
No, definitely does inspire, like, an amount of resourcefulness. I think when you realise that how monotone like, a lot of the market is, like, for example, I started making my own conditioners because I found out that loads of cheap conditioners just put a layer of plastic.
Microbeads, yeah. I learned that, yeah.
On your hair.
And it adds shine but strips your hair. You're like, oh, right, thanks.
And I always wondered why my hair looked shiny, but it was just like...
It feels brittle.
Frail, yeah. And it just inspires people, I think, to go and do some research for themselves and just kind of like do something that's a bit alternative to kind of what you're fed to in adverts or like the back of a bottle.
Exactly. I think like right, actually no, there's a question for you. What prompted your research? Like, did you just stumble across that fact and then it prompted your research, or did you? Okay.
I think I just found it shocking. It made me realise how ignorant I was to like everything I was putting on my body, and then I heard that 20-second like skin rule thing. I was just about how your bloodstream is just directly in contact to everything around you. Is thinking like, so me on my Sunday treat is putting like banana flavoured plastic on my hair. Just how weird is
that's actually messed up. Like, oh god, that actually, when you put it like that, like that's just not okay, is it? Oh goodness. I've got another thing to ask you about. Within this segment of Decoding the Messes, and it's being a lonely way to the top. It's a lonely way to the top. And I say this with sort of skepticism, I guess, because I think there's like a point where when you're learning things and like testing new things, it can be quite isolating and intimidating, and you don't realise how many people you may lose on the way of that. Like it varies from, I don't know, like finding something that you super believe in, like politics-wise, or I don't know, like the banana flavoured plastic. Do you know what I mean? Like it varies. So how do you navigate that sort of refinding yourself by yourself, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's hard because like...
So we're talking about solitude, really.
Yeah. I think it's hard breaking out of the idea of... Right, try again. So I think up to a certain point growing up, all of our like behaviors and hobbies are based on other people's. Yeah. Just growing up, what is popular in culture, and like what in the town you live in. Like if there's pubs and nothing else, or you live in the countryside, or you live next to the cinema, like your hobbies will greatly depend on that. I think like as you get older and find interests that are different to growing up, it's like just. I think it's I think it's just like a pretty cool thing, to be honest, just finding out like
you're going against the grain.
Yeah, and completely on your own terms. Like you can commit to a hobby and take up a language and do like an hour a day and proper immerse yourself into foreign film, or you can pack up your bags and go there, or you could just kind of read a little, do a 10-minute vocab session, try a few words out on an Italian friend you have or something like that, and you could just kind of impress yourself or as much as you want, which I think is really...
No, definitely. Like, I think it's mad how you talked about like the environment being such an influencing factor, because when I came to uni, I was able to like learn so much because it's that melting pot of like different people, different experiences, etc. But like, let's say social anthropology, I think genuinely if I found that out before I went to uni, I probably would have done that.
Yeah,
I think that subject is so interesting. I love how everything's linked within, like, from evolutionary states to I don't know, individual differences. I mean, the psychologist in me wants to like find the evidence and the facts, but also like I love the stories behind it.
Yeah, it's mad how in life we'll only have certain opportunities until after a while. Like my mate Eric, he grew up with like a touring carnival. So
what?
Yeah, he so he did sculptures really early on, just from like scrap metal that was about.
Nice.
And I was just thinking like he didn't really get the same like consistent education. I think he was homeschooled. I was thinking like our lives are just giving us mad opportunities that just differ.
Oh, definitely.
And it's mad how much you'll come into contact with stuff that is completely out of the blue, and you just might find a taking for so randomly.
I was brought up outside of London, and even though I didn't have to deal with London nonsense, I took all the benefits and the like sort of, I took like, sorry, I can't speak. So even though I wasn't brought up in London, I took the benefits of the resources and opportunities. Like, it can take me 20 minutes to get to somewhere, and I'll be able to go see this really cool show and go meet these people and network my arse off. But compared to someone who lives in bloody, I don't know, Abergavenny in North Wales, they're not going to be able to see that. Oh, shit.
Nah, it's honestly so true. Like, even now where I live, compared to where I grew up, people are just able to do things that require skills of other people like so easily. So, for example, I live with a drum and bass DJ, and
shout out Leah.
Yeah, my boy.
Slater's Angels. Ow.
But so he was going to be in Mixmag, and I was just looking at on my camera and just editing some pictures that I took a while ago, and within a week of him discovering I did photography, I did some of his press shots, and a couple of my mates who were in the drum bass scene who wanted a few shots as well. It's just like within a couple weeks, I went from just like looking at my old pictures on my camera to kind of just being a really small time photographer, and it was pretty mad that like you were saying, just like being around somewhere that has the opportunity, it is insane how things just develop. Your
environment is so important. Like, if you are with people who have that growth and not that growth, but have that drive to do more and different things, it encourages you to do. Like, I think living with you taught me so many things, but indirectly, because I'd be seeing you like come home from uni or come home from volunteering, and I'm like, damn, that sounds interesting. You know what? I'm going to come too. And then you're allowed to learn new experiences and sort of grow from that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's one of the best things about sharing a house, to be honest, that you just get thrown in with people that might not necessarily be like a random bunch of people.
Yeah, but different interests, different opinions, different beliefs. Like,
just asking about people's day is so much more different to living with a family, because like you kind of know about the entirety of each other's lives.
I mean, 100%. You know who's coming down the stairs by the way they walk.
Yeah,
Do you know what
I mean? And it might get that comfort at your house, but in a house share. But people would just always surprise you. Like,
well, you got that independence, you got that freedom to sort of explore.
Definitely. No, I feel like living with you has really opened up like my view on spirituality a bit more. I grew up as like in a Roman Catholic household, so I kind of just like, yeah, you know, we've had a chat. We've chatted about this before.
On episode 3.
But yeah, like pushed that away because I didn't really relate to that religion in particular.
Well, I mean, the difference, I guess, because like, well, I mean, from like on like basic level, let's say if someone's like educating you, you're educating someone something. However, if it's like being forced upon you, or if it's being like, if it's given to you with a form of pressure, it's just your human reaction, your child reaction to reject. Because like I'll have talks with my friends who are in different have different belief systems, but they're not sort of consisting in organised religion. And because they were in that safe space of being able to explore, then they were able to sort of develop that on their own. It wasn't more like, oh, you're Roman Catholic, you have a Christian values, and that's it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think
more independence.
It's just insane to I think it's insanely impressive when people hold on to religion they've grown up in.
Oh, 100%.
But as well, I think it's an insane amount of commitment for a child.
I feel like I love faith. Like I think like faith, having something outside of yourself to put into to help you get through things. I'm all here for it. But because of the sort of politics that comes with or the politics or the hierarchical systems, like all of the sort of well, I guess the people involvement in it, I don't agree with.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's why it's a shame that spirituality gets mixed up with like concrete religious faith. Because I think you can have faith in so many different things that are outside yourself.
Exactly.
You can have faith in like just in the way that life goes, or like your friends, or just faith in yourself in the future. And that in itself is just putting the pressure off of you, which is what it's about, I guess.
I mean, the most important relationship that you'll ever have in this life is with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and I think like that's it. Unfortunately, some people take a while to realise that, and I think we're at like a lovely like sort of point in our lives where we're actually like being so comfortable to continue and to grow. Like I think some people, let's say in this position, may feel quite intimidated, and that's when they revert backwards. But if you have an idea of what you want to do, or even if you have no idea what you want to do and you just want to try different things to learn about you, it's going to take some action, but then it's going to reinstill that faith again.
Definitely. I think we're so lucky to live in an era where inner strength is just so popular. Like it's like almost a cultural movement to just
100%.
be a strong person on your own and be independent. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, because before it was so like, oh, you need to, well, it's like, oh yeah, you go to school, then you go to uni, then you're going to meet someone in uni, and then you're going to get into a family, and then you're going to have your career, and like, oh, but if you're a woman, like, remember you need to like put these things down because think about the kids, and that's like, no. I'm doing my own thing. If that happens, then let it happen. But it's not what's the word? It's not going to be.
It's just way less of a heightened pressure, I guess. Yeah. I think it came into light for me so much when I first went to Tanzania. I mentioned earlier, one of the girls that she lived in the house that I was staying in.
How old are you when you were travelling?
Tanzania, I was 18. And I remember the girl that was living there, she was the granddaughter of the woman who owned the house. And she was like 15. And she was just saying, like, if she doesn't have kids by the time that she's my age, she'll almost be like shunned from the community.
That's mad.
Yeah, it makes you really value the fact that we're allowed to have strength. Like, it's insane.
If someone said to me that I had to have a child before this time, I'd be like, excuse me. Excuse me. Like, are you paying me?
Take your word on the corner,
Damn
mate.
straight. Like, I am not like bringing a child into this scary world without having some form of like security, whether that's in myself or like in my external, like materialistic sense. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, without realising it, the stuff that makes us less complete of a person is just going to filter down into whoever we're around.
Exactly. Intergenerational trauma is such a thing. Like I'll keep on posting these memes about it recently, talking about how when you're the one who decides to break the intergenerational trauma in your family, and it's just this person like sitting here like and it's like, okay, I'll go again.
I love these spiritual memes.
Do you know what I mean? Oh my God, there's so many. Like, I'm gonna have to like send them to you. I'll post them on the post them on the Instagram. Amazing. I wanted to actually ask you another question. And I think one thing about sort of reclaiming your power, going in the world of like solitude, is still having that childhood curiosity and that sort of willingness to trial, fail, do it again, make mistakes, learn from them, and just like wander around. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, what took you traveling, and how old were you?
The first time I went away, I was 15. I went to Uganda and Ethiopia.
So that's like fairly young to go to like very culturally different places as well. Like, it's not like you're going to France for like a month. Do you know what I mean?
I've been quite lucky, to be honest, that I don't have any family that live in Britain apart from my like immediate family. Yeah. So if you all my family holidays were just to see, all my school holidays were just to see family. So for me, I really just think that in my head, I was thinking that I need to push myself, I need to find myself, or whatever people say to themselves when they're 18. And then I
need to fly.
Yeah, serious.
fly.
And then I just wanted a culture shock. And I think that like when you push yourself out and try and find yourself, I think it's really like, it's pretty mad that is you actually go back into your childhood curiosity and trusting new people. And it's something that I found really hard the first time I went away. Yeah. Because it's just the biggest culture shock I'd ever had. Going to East Africa, because I'd never been anywhere like that. And it just makes you kind of go back into like a more innocent mindset, but with an increased wisdom, like because you're a bit older and like just a bit more socially aware, but having that initial perception of people that is kind-hearted, I think was the biggest thing that I learned going away. And I think that, I just think that if you let go of childhood curiosity and you kind of let go of the idea of trying new things and like pushing yourself, because that's what children do all the time. Definitely. You just fall off shit all the time and just climb everything they want.
Do you watch The Secret Lives of 4-year-olds?
Yes,
it's so entertaining. Like, I love it.
Love it.
I think I love how sort of you got these developmental psychologists giving you like narratives of what actually is happening in the brain, but also seeing it happen. And like, it's so innocent, but it's so like sort of admiring as well, because it's like you have someone who's like, I don't know, let's say 16, who is so worried about peer pressure or social norms, etc. And then you see this 5-year-old confident as ever, just doing them. And it's something that we forget. Like, I did this module last year called Psychology of Politics. No, what was it? Psychology of Society, Politics and Identity. And it was so interesting because it basically talked about these like moral philosophy, like principles, but backed it up again with like cognitive neuroscience. And it was saying how, let's say teenagers, that the age group of like maybe just after maybe like 14 plus, whenever you start like puberty or whatever, to like 21, 22, there's just this, any rule just goes, like it just completely is re-scripted because your belief is so emphasized on outside of you instead of inside of you, and it's sort of like rewiring that to find yourself again. Like, I remember when I was 17, I went through this whole like sort of like positive, like I want to find myself, want to learn about myself, and I was like very proactive, like whether my mental health or whether it be like doing new things. Like I was always just by myself. Like I think I was working at festivals, doing all that kind of stuff, and it was really empowering. And everybody was like, "Oh, Sarah, you're so confident, you're so this," and I'm like, I mean, I am, but then also like, you could be too. Come join me. Yeah. Like, just find your thing and go run with it. Or keep on finding other things and run with it.
Definitely. I think one of the most amazing things on The Secret Life of 4-year-olds that we could all bring is just seeing how easily the children get over bad things that happen to them.
Tell me about it. Oh,
like, they'll have their crayon stolen, cry for about 10 seconds, and it's sweet.
Honestly.
And we need to, I feel like I do as well. I need to fucking bring this energy into any time that I just feel like things aren't going well. It's like, oh, well, it's all right. You ate the cake, but you'll get over it.
It's really interesting that you say that because like, I'll definitely talk about this on another episode. However, there was this scene on The Secret Life of 4-Year-Olds where there was this there was this 4-year-old and they didn't have their forearm, right? And then another child was to the person without the forearm and was like, oh, what happened to your arm? Did someone bite, like, did a shark bite it off, etc.? Literally, like, psychologically and, like, academically, that is a microaggression, right?
Yeah.
And a microaggression is a subtle, implicit, indirect or direct way of saying other, essentially. And I was saying this to someone. I think I was even saying this to Amy, actually, in our house. And she was like, yeah, but they're only 4. I was like, no, but that's the thing. They have the beauty of being 4, that they can just see it as what they said, get upset, but then also let it go. However, in the future, that same child will experience the same things, the same type of comments, or same, like, physical, environmental, emotional examples of a microaggression, and that's what leads into an indirect discrimination. How mad is that?
It's
mad. All linked. It's all connected. Like, but that is, I completely agree with the fact that children have the benefit of being able to see things, process them, and let it go. That's something that I want to learn how to do.
Yeah, I think...
Well, better. I can do it, but, like, with a lot of...
I'll take a little longer to be a bit salty about it.
Literally, I'm a petty motherfucker. I'm a petty motherfucker. You do something bad, I'm like, ha, ha, ha. I can't wait until I see you fall over. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't help it. Like, I don't say it, like, no, I do say it. Yeah, no, I can't lie to you.
I hope you drop your chips.
Yeah. I'm like, ha, ha, ha. Oh, my God, I remember I saw this one funny thing. It was this other meme. God, I talk about memes a lot, don't I? Basically, someone had their foot out when they're walking the bus. Oh, no, they're walking the bus. No, like, sorry, I can't speak. So someone had their foot, like, outside, like this, like walking in a lane on a bus. So they basically, someone could have tripped. So the other person was like, oh, can you not do that? Someone replied, giving a really salty reply. So do you know what they did? They tied their braids around the bus chair. Does that make sense? No. Yeah. Right,
so the guy who stuck his leg out was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And in retaliation,
so the girl with the braids said, okay, I'm going to tell the story again, sorry. Right, so people were sitting on the bus, right? Okay. This lady with braids had her foot out and someone nearly tripped, or had their bags out and someone nearly tripped. The other individual asked them to move. They were like, no. So do you know what the other individual did? They tied their braids around the banister. So let's say after she goes off on her journey, she's going to be like, whoa.
That's cold. Did you see him?
I don't know. I mean, it was a meme. I didn't follow it up. But literally, like, I'm not that petty, but, like, I am petty.
That's a healthy amount of pettiness, though. Like,
what, tying people's braids around buses?
No, not that level. Like, maybe just like, I don't know, just thinking. I think. No.
Can pettiness be adaptive? Like, is it like a good thing?
As long as it's in your head. As long as you check yourself before it gets too deep and you actually act on it.
Yeah, don't
right.
act on yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, well, it's in your head. Who knows? No one else does. Exactly. It's just in your head. You can go after that.
Yeah. Erase. God, you'll have so many more thoughts in your life. Just let come and go.
Oh, that's so jokes. Oh, I'm trying to think. I had another thing that I wanted to talk to you about in this whole sort of solitude, finding yourself again. I say finding yourself again because I feel like you find yourself again through different experiences, right?
Yeah.
So whether that is, I don't know, like going through puberty, or whether that is, I don't know, going to uni, or going to a class, or like having a disagreement with friends. When was the last time that you felt like you found yourself again?
I think the last time that I felt like I found myself again was probably just, you know what? It was on Christmas Day.
Oh.
When our mate Pineapple and I went for a walk in the morning, and we were sat having a Christmas dinner, the Oh, the Christmas dinner was amazing.
Best Christmas dinner ever.
No, I'm so long in it.
Fully, like, no, actually, you know what? Pause. Tell them about the Christmas dinner. Tell them about the Christmas dinner. This is 10 out of 10.
This Christmas dinner took time to make. So I made a seitan vegan Wellington with and the Wellington takes about 3 hours to make. You gotta stew down those different vegetables and add in like a million different spices. Wrap that in cranberry sauce.
No, you wrapped it in leeks.
Oh yeah,
you wrapped it in leeks for flavour.
Yeah.
Don't forget about the leeks, G.
Oh, true. It was a little parcel. Oh, I was so proud about that because you meant to wrap it in cheesecloth, but
What's a cheesecloth?
It's just like a really thin cloth that you like squish cheese in, and then like so you have the curds and whey in it, and then like
can you get vegan ones of those?
Yeah, so you can make like cashew cheese.
Oh, cashew cheese,
and then you can like squeeze it out.
Oh my god, it bangs.
So nice,
it's so nice. Good.
But I have used it once to make oat milk as well. You can use it like a filter because it's like really thin.
Oh, I see.
But I didn't have any. But there's this old Badayu like way of wrapping food that my gran taught me, and you wrap it in banana leaves, and then all the water will like filter out. But I had none of that. But I had some leeks, so I thought let's just wrap that up, bake it off. It actually went amazing.
It was banging, honestly.
2 cans of potatoes, maple roasted carrots, stuffing.
Amazing. It was so good.
Yorkshire puddings. Oh man, that was great. And it was amazing because it was like proper friends Christmas, just like the 3 of us.
And, it was so lovely.
I have this
really
picture
wholesome.
of you and Pine together, just like you're just laughing with each other. I'm like taking a picture, just thinking, you know what, this is my family. Like I have found a great like environment to be in. Like great day. I love Christmas so much.
That. You could even say that like finding yourself again is also like. Well, just finding the family that you choose. I think that's another thing of adulting.
Definitely.
Like meeting you, meeting Pineapple, meeting Amy, meeting Canum, like meeting these people that feed my soul, like that have taught me so much about myself and told me so much about what I need in sort of, family. Because like...
Just giving you the support and understand 100%. You as like a progressive person.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think it's amazing just because like
your soul tribe, innit?
As a human, we're so like we have like such a need to be involved in a community.
Social
find you're in a community, you kind of also just like fulfill a part of like the social needs of yourself because you've filled like the level of support that you need to be able to do the badass stuff you get up to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You're my safe space, B.
Always.
Yeah. It's mad because like in I'm not sure if you've like have you ever read about attachment theory? Like
I have
before.
I know you've talked to me about it.
So essentially, like attachment theory, like everybody has a different type of attachment, and essentially, if you have a secure attachment, you're able to. I mean, there's loads of things linked to it, but the one thing that I'm trying to get at is that if you're securely attached, you're able to explore new surroundings, but also be comfortable to come back to your safe space. And let's say if you're like insecure avoidant instead, or insecure dismissive, that would mean that like you would cry and also be really happy when you were able to find that caregiver again from that safe space.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because you realise how that sort of relationship that you have when you're child affects your like behavior patterns when you grow up. So there's a study done by Ainsworth. It's called The Strange Situation. Like if anyone wants to Google it, like or like watch a video, it's like super interesting. It's just these like basically a 12-step model about how these 4-year-olds are with their primary caregiver, and then they have to explore their surroundings. Then their caregiver goes out, and then a stranger comes in, and it just measures what your personality is like through this like 12-step program. And everybody has one, and it's sort of interesting because it just shows you how influential environment is. So let's say within Western culture, securely attached is securely attached is promoted to anyone, but securely attached with a child who is able to explore their safe space, but is not gonna be like really happy when they're returned. When they return with their caregiver, is going to be really like praised highly. However, that study was also like cross-referenced with like various other cultures. So I remember there was this one finding in, I want to say Israel, and like where are kibbutz? Do you know where what kibbutz is?
I've never heard of it.
Okay, rewind. So there was this one cultural so for the strange situation, they like cross-referenced it with various cultures, and in Israel, there was a higher upsurge of is that what higher upsurge? Sorry, I keep on chatting. There was a higher sort of percentage of these individuals that were insecure avoidant, but that wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It was a good thing because in their communities, they were encouraged to be avoidant. They were encouraged to be able to explore their things and sort of seek more independence than if they were just going about themselves and keeping returning to their caregiver. So it just shows you how influential environments are, but then how that differs on a cultural scale.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, it's important to remember, like in a community, you need a diverse range of people. Like thinking if we were cavemen, you don't want someone who's going to be eating all the berries. You want someone who's going to be like, wait, is this berry poisonous? Is this going to fuck you up?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Am I allergic to this
Maybe
berry?
don't eat it.
Well, allergies even a thing then? Probably not.
Yeah, you need someone to have. You need people to have different opinions to you and like be avoided and worried, because then people can work together better in harmony. We can overcome better things, you know?
Definitely. Like, actually, that sort of brings me back to this other book. So, there's a book called Everything is Fucked, the book about hope by Mark Marson.
Amazing book.
Honestly, his first book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, is one of my biggest recommendations. Like, you'll probably hear me talk about this more than 20 times. Like, I cannot rate this book enough. And his most recent book discussed how hope is something outside of us that we're always forever changing. No, that's always like we're constantly chasing. So we need to find the hope in ourselves, or we need to agree that pain is the suffering and we just need to run with it and realize what we're gonna suffer for, essentially. And there's this section where they talk about how, you know, like Newton's laws of motion. He's reworked it to Newton's laws of emotion. And he's basically talked about how your belief will always be your belief until it's challenged, or your experience will always be valid until it differs. Like, but he's able to sort of reorganize this known theory into how individuals work. It's super interesting. Like, I'm going to have to read it again and then bring it back, because it's something that I really want to talk about in this podcast.
Yeah, that's a really, really cool principle theory. It's pretty cool. I'm
going to take you to the next segment.
Okay.
So the next segment we're going to do tarot talks, and essentially this is a section where we're going to I'm going to give you a little tarot reading. Give you a little tarot reading. So whilst I shuffle these cards, I'm going to ask you to think about two questions where you can sort of for guidance after this. So what would you like to think about? Like, what would you like to ask tarot, ask for guidance today whilst I shuffle? So yeah, I've been practicing tarot for the past maybe year or so now, and I really advocate for it as a sort of tool for self-reflection. I find it really interesting how like you're able to just learn more about yourself and learn more about your character and sort of find out different perspectives of various things. I can't speak today. Sorry. So I find it really interesting how you can use sort of tarot as a tool for self-reflection. So I thought I would incorporate it in this section, in this segment called Tarot Talks, so we can sort of ask guidance for the higher power to learn more about ourselves, or we can be our take-home message for this evening. Okay.
So what would you typically ask yourself? So
sometimes I ask myself, like, what do I need to know today? Or how, let's say sometimes I ask, what guidance do I need to have for today? Sometimes I ask, how's the situation going to help me when something bad happens? Or I sometimes just shuffle the cards and whatever I get out pops out to me.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm using this deck called Kaleidodope by Crystal Banner. It's actually beautiful. She's got so many like pop culture references in here. So I'm just going to shuffle these cards.
There's some really cool illustrations on those cards.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to let you touch them as well because we want to get your energy on these cards.
OG deck as well, yeah.
Yeah, it's the OG deck. I actually bought this deck when I moved into Leah's house, maybe 3 weeks into moving in.
Oh no.
And it was quite emotional because I was able to sort of like learn about tarot in such like a comforting way, but I've also brought these cards again as you're my first person to speak to.
Feel honoured.
So what have you been thinking? Like, have you been having a little think about what you want to ask?
Yeah, so I think I wanted to ask about, so as I mentioned earlier, I'm not studying anymore, well, after my master's, and I really been thinking a lot about like how I can bring myself now into the other things that I'm trying out in my life that's going to change quite a bit in the next few months. So just asking, what's the best way to bring myself into the future?
Okay. So higher power, what is the best way of bringing parts of Leah into the future? What does she need to know, right? A card has already popped out, so I put that one down.
Sign.
You might recognise it. I'll let you have a
Cups.
little look. It's a Four of Cups,
course,
baby.
Course.
And then, okay. Mad was talking about pop culture references and this one came out. So you have, I put out 2 cards. One card is the Four of Cups. Have a look. Have a look. So the Four of Cups shows a hand moving 4 cups to the left of her. Yeah. And it's quite funny because whenever I see this card, I think of Beyonce. And it's like to the left,
Beyonce
to the left,
card.
everything you own, and then the bucks to the left. So with cups, you talk about all your emotions, your feelings, your intuition, your creativity. The cups are empty. So that suggests that whatever is being proposed to her isn't fulfilling her, right? Yeah. But it also is positioned downright, downright. And that just basically suggests that within tarot, you get a card, you get a description, but depending on how it's orientated, gives different perspectives of that chosen opinion. You've got it upside down, and that means that you are done with the situation, but you're taking a new perspective on it. So I'm just going to read a little bit from here.
Crazy relevant.
So it says, reconsidering, yearning for change, taking control, identifying wants and desires, right? So essentially, because the cups are empty, it just shows that they're sort of useless now. However, because it's upside down, it suggests that you're using this time to sort of figure out what you want, what's going to like affirm you on an emotional level. Yeah. When I was talking about cups, I was talking about minor arcanas. Minor arcanas. And essentially that's talking about like narrow aspects of your day-to-day life. However, the next card that I just pulled out is the Empress card, which is actually Beyonce. And, well, we know Beyonce. She's a baddie. She's a queen bee. She is glorious. She's sitting here, abundant, creativity. She's got... This picture is actually from when she was pregnant with her twins. And that's also showing like a fruitful... time of your life. You're blooming, you're blossoming, baby.
It's a regal photo, to be fair.
Regal's fuck. Like, when you look at this photo, look at this image, what do you get?
To be honest, I need to get a headdress like this. That's amazing. Clearly doesn't give a fuck about.
So it says here.
Anything that could bother her.
Yes, I love that. It's like owning yourself and like owning your worth. It's finding yourself again. I'm joking. So it says here, the Empress proudly displays her growing belly as a symbol of new beginnings, fertility and womanhood. She embraces her femininity in all forms and brings a sense of calm and comfort whilst being unapologetically sexy and powerful. So on the card as well, you've got 12 gold stars to resemble the astrological signs. And that, I think that's another way of showing someone how multifaceted they are and sort of stepping into your own. You described her as regal, but she's regal because she knows her wants and desires, but she's probably put action into making them fruitful. And I find that really like empowering, the fact that like you're sort of sitting here, you're like, oh, I've got a new obstacle in my life, where am I going to go next? And you've got guidance of the Empress card, aka Beyonce, shining light on you. So it shows that you're in a sort of positive and promising relationship with the future. So I'm really happy about that.
I'm happy to hear about that as well.
How do you feel?
I feel
Is
like...
there anything that I can help you, like...
I feel like it's a pretty hopeful message.
Yes.
Across. I think it's pretty relevant to what we've been talking about, the idea of like trying new things and like pushing aside what doesn't make you fulfilled. Yeah. But since Upside Down, I clearly like
literally
already done the motions for it, and it's true. To be honest.
Mad how like the Empress as well as the Four of Cups is all to do with like fertility and creativity and intuition. So the fact that you are having your exhibition soon, the fact that you're taking more photos, the fact that you're even cooking, like all of these different experiences or like opportunities is ways of you sort of falling in love with yourself again. So I'm really, really happy.
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing. So we're coming to the end of our podcast, and I'm really, really happy for you to be here. Thank you so much. Like, I really, really enjoyed speaking to you. But before we go, we've got the last little segment, and this is called the direct message. And essentially, this is where you can bring or give a statement, a food for thought sort of scenario situation to sort of leave listeners on what to think next. So mine is feel the fear and do it anyway, because one thing that I realised what we're talking about is really like instilling or like in heightening that childhood curiosity into pushing us to doing things. I think that might be my driving factor into like trying new things, like whether that's starting this podcast or whether that's starting a new class, just being a bit more adventurous. And I just wanted to ask you, what's yours for today?
Yeah, just like you said, I'm really happy to be a part of this podcast. Thank you for inviting me on the show.
Thank you for coming.
And I guess if I had like one thing to say is that you can, on the same topic as finding new hobbies and finding yourself, you can go anywhere and do anything you want, but you've got to learn about what makes you happy. And if it takes 100 restarts to find what makes you happy, it's worth it because it's not going to be anywhere else but in yourself.
I love that. 100 restarts to make you happy. Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much, Leah, Bad Bee Stella, for coming and being here with me today.
Thank
you.
Glad to be here.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. This is when DM Talks, also known as Sarah Dario Moy. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.